Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about bicornuate uteruses. A bicornuate what? It's such a weird word. But you guys, what is it? And how do you know if you have one or not? First off, I want to say I'm not a doctor, but I have a bicornuate uterus and I'd like to tell you about them and how I found out about mine. Okay, so the internet definition of a bicornuate uterus, from the Latin cornu, meaning horn, is a type of Müllerian anomaly in the human uterus, where there is a deep indentation at the fundus top of the uterus. Did I say that? Fundus? Famunda. That's all I was thinking is like famunda. I was thinking of famunda, and that's, I don't even know if that's a word. I feel like it's a family inside joke. Famunda these nuts. Pretty much what it's saying online is a bicornuate uterus, and this is how a doctor explained it to me, is a uterus is like this, right? And a bicornuate has like a septum, so it goes like this. You know what? I'm gonna insert a photo right here. This is what a bicornuate uterus looks like, and this is what a normal uterus looks like. Okay? You see the difference? I really hope I figured out how to insert images. Or just gonna be real awkward. So how do you know if you have a bicornuate uterus? For me, I didn't know until I was going through a miscarriage and my doctor said, hey, it looks like your uterus actually is septated, or it could be a bicornuate uterus, so we'd like you to get an MRI. And that's how I found out I have a bicornuate uterus. Not fun at the time because I was going through a miscarriage and I was like, what is a bicornuate uterus? And can I have kids? I just remember being very emotional. And so if you did just find out you have a bicornuate uterus, I'm sorry, but you are not broken. You can still have children, because I am proof, as I'm in my baby's room. So another thing with my story though, so I found out I had a bicornuate uterus, and then I was like, how did I get this uterus? You know, like, is it because of like what I did in college? Is it, you know, like, did I fall wrong? Did my husband hurt me? Like, I just didn't know. And a lot of people don't know that there is something different. Like, not everyone's uterus is just the same, you know, the normal way of being a uterus. I had no idea there was different versions of uteruses. So it was news to me, but with my doctor, she explained that when I was in my mom developing it didn't like fuse together. You know how there's like a cleft lip? It's almost like that. Like there was like a cleft kind of like abnormality where it didn't like fuse together and be like a normal uterus. There was like this like septum, and there's different versions of bicornuate uteruses. You could have the severity could be like here, or it could be all the way down here where it does look like that heart shape. And we are also known for heart-shaped uteruses. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy late Valentine's Day. But yeah, and with a septum, which is what my nurse at first thought, or I guess she's a doctor. What my doctor first thought was if I had a septum, I could get that lasered off because there's still that top part, but there's just like this extra like flab of skin with septums or septated uteruses. There's that like extra skin, so they can laser that off. But I don't have that. I have a bicornuate uterus where it is just like the walls are kind of down like a heart, if that makes sense. It's a lot, okay? And then another thing is what they told me is, so here's my uterus, right? The baby with the bicornuate, so the two horns is what they like to call it, horn 1 and horn 2, the baby will go in there and develop on either side, so it will attach. And another reason with bicornuate uteruses, another reason of miscarriages or women that get many miscarriages is maybe because, and they explained to me maybe why I had a miscarriage is because that baby went in and implanted kind of on this like the septum part of my heart-shaped uterus where blood flow doesn't go, and so that's why the baby couldn't develop, and that's why I miscarried. And so when I got pregnant with my second baby, I'm like, wait, I only have one baby. With my second baby, she implanted on the left side and kind of grew that way. And so with the bicornuate uterus, you kind of, this part grows and this part doesn't, is what they tell me. But again, I'm not a doctor, so yeah, that's kind of my story. But I'm very glad to know that I have this bicornuate uterus, and now I know more about my body and how to take care of it. So with the struggles of having this uterus, a lot of women, I feel like before I was diagnosed with a bicornuate uterus, I had kind of signs of it. And I remember going into doctor after doctor is what it felt like, because growing up, I had so many horrible periods, and they say with a bicornuate uterus, because there's two horns, when you have a period, they almost like vibrate, I think that's what they were saying, where the walls are like vibrating, and that's why there's there's so much more blood and it's so much more painful because it's the shedding those liners and in a heart shape. I'm just kidding. But there's just like more shedding is what they say. So there's more blood and more pain. So maybe if you do get really painful periods, and my period always goes for 7 days. 7 days. And there's so much blood. Like I bleed heavily like for probably 4 days or like 5 days. Like it's insane. And I remember going to the doctor and they're like, oh, you want birth control? Like that was a fix all. And I'm like, what? So that was really frustrating growing up and trying to figure out why I had such horrible, painful periods. But it explains it now. So yeah, that is a sign of bicornuate uterus. A lot of women, I think maybe all women that have bicornuate uteruses have painful periods and heavy periods, is from my understanding. So that's another thing about bicornuate uteruses. But it doesn't mean that if you get painful periods and heavy periods, that means you have a bicornuate uterus. But that's just what I've learned is that's a sign. That's a sign. But anyways, the struggles that I was told when you have a bicornuate uterus is that you will miscarry many times because of that septum. Sometimes maybe that's why women miscarry a lot, because the baby implants on spots that don't get a lot of blood flow, and because there's not a lot of room in your uterus, there is a higher chance of preterm labor. And again, because there's not a lot of room in one of the two horns that the baby's in, there's not a lot of room for it to flip, so a lot of babies are breech, and so you do have to have a C-section. So those are a few struggles that bicornuate uterus women have throughout their pregnancy. Now for me, after I found out about my bicornuate uterus, I got pregnant 2 months later with my daughter, and she actually implanted it on the left side. So my left horn grew and was her home for 9 months. Throughout my pregnancy, I was definitely nervous the whole time just because I just didn't want to have another miscarriage. I think all women, after they have a miscarriage, they're very nervous. And I was especially nervous because I was considered a high-risk pregnancy with my uterus. But to be honest, the struggles I went through, I feel like are normal struggles, like heartburn, my feet would swell, just aches and pains here and there, being extra sleepy and this and that. If I didn't know I had this different uterus. If I didn't know about my uterus, I feel like I would think my pregnancy was normal. Like there wasn't anything different about it from what my understanding. And I remember when I first went to see when I first found out I was pregnant again with the second one, and we were checking, getting that first ultrasound, I remember the nurse saying like, you might bleed through your whole pregnancy because of your uterus. And I was like, what? Because that's not fun. You don't want to bleed, especially because like that's not a normal thing from my understanding, which I did not bleed. I think maybe she was getting my uterus confused with maybe a girl who has 2 uteruses. Maybe one uterus still has a period and the other one doesn't. I just want to tell you that now a bicornuate uterus is not 2 uteruses. It's just one uterus that's different. It's a heart. But again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, with my pregnancy, I actually went full term, and my pregnancy, from my understanding, was healthy, and my baby did great. She actually did flip, and so I was excited. I was like, yes, I'm gonna have her vaginally. And I was super, super stoked, but it didn't actually work out that way. I actually labored for 21 hours, and my blood pressure kept dropping, which would make my baby's heart rate drop. And so the doctors were like, let's just have a C-section after my 21 hours in labor. I was like, yeah. I was so exhausted. I was like, you know what, let's just do it. So I did actually end up having a C-section, but again, it could be different for everyone. There is a lot of women online that have a bicornuate uterus, and they do have to have a C-section because the baby is breech. So I don't know what the percentage is if you do have a bicornuate uterus and the percentage of having a C-section versus not. So I don't know, but I did end up having a C-section, and it was really hard at first to accept that I was cut open and how my body is broken. But I have a happy and healthy baby, and I think that's, for me at least, that's all that matters, is she's here, she's happy, she's healthy, So yeah, that's my story about my bicornuate uterus, how I found out about mine. Maybe you just found out that you have a bicornuate uterus or a different type of uterus. Or maybe you just clicked on here because you know me, or you saw something that you wanted to learn about. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you did learn something new. And if you do have a bicornuate uterus, I just want to say you are not broken. You will have a happy and healthy baby. There was a woman that told me that online. She's like, you will have your baby. And that's the hope I needed because I was so lost and I was like, what does this mean? You know, having this uterus. I was like, because there's so many like scary things online where it's like you will have miscarriage after miscarriage and just so many negative things online that I was just like, no, I didn't want to hear that negative thing. I didn't want to have the negativity in my head. And so that I don't remember her name, but on Instagram she was like, you will have your baby, don't worry. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And she was right. So I just would like to pass on that positivity that you will have your baby. She or he will be healthy and happy, and you will get to start your family. You will have baby after baby after baby. But anyways, I start crying. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked and you learned something new. And if you do have a bicornuate uterus or a different uterus and you have any questions, again, I'm not a doctor, but I have a bicornuate uterus. I would love to answer any of your questions down below. You can also find me on Instagram. I'll link everything in the description so you can find that. Also, another thing that I like doing when I found out about my bicornuate uterus is I went to #bicornuateuterus on Instagram, and there's a lot of women on there that have their stories or testimonies about their bodies. That at least gave me a lot of hope and it helped me understand my body more. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great, fabulous day. Bye! I gotta make sure this is in focus because if it's not, I'll cry myself to sleep tonight. I have cards because I wanted to make sure that I discuss everything that I want to discuss. A bicornu what? What? A bicornu what? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm not a doctor, but I have a bicornuate uterus and I forget my line every time. I need a teleprompter. So today we're going to be talking about Hey everyone. No. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know my husband's listening and it drives me crazy because I want to be all like energetic and stuff, and he's like, you're gonna be crazy for your video, and I'm like, no, I just want to be like myself and kind of more than just like, hey everyone, welcome back, like he thinks I should be. Okay. Okay, so what am I doing today? Okay.